Everyone, it's Drew from Animal Adventures. Today we're going to be doing one of our special shows again. We're going to learn about a couple different types of snakes that I have. The first snake here today, a smaller one. Alrighty. So this little guy here, this is one of my favorite types of snakes. Let me just close this lid. This one here is a California king snake. So king snakes are found all over the world, all over the United States. And the cool thing about them is that they get their name king snake because they're basically the kings of all the snakes where they're found. So the reason for that is because these guys mostly eat other snakes. They make up a huge part of their diet. So they eat a whole lot of other snakes. And a really cool thing is that they can even eat venomous snakes too. So they are completely immune to the local venomous snakes. This one here is from California, so it could totally eat a venomous snake from California, like a rattlesnake or some other types of snakes there. But it's going to have issues with non-native species. So if it tried to eat like a king cobra, would not be okay because those snakes are not where they're found. They wouldn't be able to process that venom there. And you can see him wiggling his tongue a whole lot. The reason for that tongue is that is how snakes smell. So they smell with their tongue. They have a special forked tongue that wiggles outside their mouth. And when they pull it back into their mouth, the two sides fit into two special pockets in there. It's called the Jacobson's organ. And that lets them know if there's any animals around that they could snack on. So it's a really, really helpful sense. And one of the reasons they really want to have that extra sense of smell, that super strong sense of smell, is because these guys don't have ears. So their hearing is not a huge thing that they have. They're going to pick up on some vibrations, but that's about it. So the smell is really what's going to help them navigate for food. They do have eyesight, but that's not always the best for them. So that sense of smell is really what's going to help them out the most. And you can see I'm wrapping around my wrist here as well. That is not to hurt me. That is called anchoring. So if a snake wraps around you with their body and it's not with their mouth, then they're just holding on to be nice and safe. But if this guy were to bite me and then wrap around, then we would have a problem. That's him trying to constrict me, so it wouldn't be too fun for me or the snake. So that's when we have to be careful. But right now he is being pretty active. He's pretty cool. You can see how shiny those scales are as well. They look a little bit slippery, but those are not slimy at all. Those scales are really just super smooth. It's almost like glass. They're made of keratin, so the same thing as your fingernails. If you remember from some of our other videos too, that's the same as like the armadillo back. So a lot of different animals have that material on them to make up their body parts. And one unfortunate thing about king snakes, a lot of snakes in general, but king snakes especially, because their diet is so focused on other snakes, they have been known sometimes when they're really starving in the wild to see their own tail and they think it's another snake. They've been known to start swallowing themselves, and it's usually not good, especially in the wild. It's going to end up with a round donut of a snake that will likely end up digesting itself. If that does happen in captivity, the best thing to do is put it right underwater, and it will instantly want to release itself. It's going to end up throwing itself back up, and if you catch on quick, it'll likely be before it starts to digest itself, which is always a plus. So cool, I'm going to stick this king snake back. This guy's name is King Tut, and we'll move on to a bigger snake next, alright? So inside of this cooler here, I do have a big snake, but I also have this. So this is a heat pack. It is just like a special pink disc, and we microwave it up. It gets it nice and warm for them. So inside of the cooler, especially for some of these bigger snakes, it acts more like a sauna for them. Instead of being a cooler, it's a warmer. Keeps these guys nice and toasty. So what I'm going to do with this, before I pick this big guy up, is I'm going to use this heat pack. I'm just going to boop him on the back of the head real quick. So just a gentle little tap. So what we do with that, that's just going to break the feeding response for this big snake. So when we do go to pick it up, it's not going to think it's feeding time. It's going to pick up that it's just, there's no food around. That's the biggest thing. So they might not recognize that they're going to be handled, but they will know that it's not some time for them to start eating. So this one here is a big red-tailed boa. His name is Ron Burgundy, and right now he's sniffing you guys on the camera. And red-tailed boas, also known as common boas, are found Central and South America, mostly all around there. So especially in like the rainforest jungle areas down there, where it's nice and hot and very humid. And you can see with this guy too, he's also sniffing around, that tongue is flicking, and he's a lot bigger. This one here is probably close to 8 or 9 feet, and I'd say around 40 pounds or so. So he's a nice heavy guy, pretty big. But the females actually do get bigger. So female red-tailed boas can get up to like 12 feet or so. They get a lot longer, and that's usually the case for a lot of the female snakes, because they need to be able to have more body mass for their young, so to have the eggs inside. And what's cool about boas, one way to tell them apart from pythons, is how they give birth. So these guys here do not lay eggs. They have a soft egg inside, and then the boas will have live birth. So the eggs will hatch inside, and then baby snakes will slither on out. With pythons, they're going to lay a nest of eggs. So a snake that lays eggs is oviparous. A snake that has live birth is viviparous, and that's what this guy would be. Or if this was a female, that's what it would be. But boas in general are all viviparous. And you can see the same deal on my wrist here, just wrapping around to feel nice and safe, just anchoring on, not trying to hurt me at all. But the biggest thing you do want to be careful with snakes, we recommend you never put them on your neck, okay? So snakes are cold-blooded. That means that their body temperature is the same as the environment around them, or ectothermic is the proper term. So they're going to be warm if they're in a warm space, or cold if they're in a cold space. And our neck is the warmest part of our body. So if you put a snake around your neck, it's just like if you go out playing in the snow or something. Once you come back in, you want to cuddle up under a blanket and get nice and small. Just like with a snake, if they feel cold, they're going to want to get nice and small, nice and cozy, and they're going to do that around your neck, and you won't be able to breathe too well. So putting them on your wrists, that's the second warmest part of your body, and you can still breathe, and you're totally fine. So that's really a plus. We like to feed frozen and thawed for our reptiles. It's a little bit safer. These snakes, we offer them food once a week, but they're not always going to take food every time. So if you offer them live rats every week, and they're not always hungry, eventually you might get a snake that gets bit by those rats. And that's when people have a huge problem with injuries to the eyes, the back, other parts of their body. So you have to make sure to really be monitoring it pretty closely if you feed live. But we feed the frozen. It's just as nutritious, and we think it's a little bit safer most of the time. One here, he's around, I believe, 14 or so. They can live into their 40s.
Wow.
Yeah. And he doesn't look super red, but if you look towards the tail, sometimes when the light gets it just right, you can see like right here, those circle areas, they're a little bit more red. So some red-tailed boas will be much more red in color. This one's not as red. Yeah, really, really pretty snake. All right, so that's probably it for this show. Thank you all for watching.